What's up, everybody? Whether it's East Coast, West Coast, or around the world, this is Coast to Coast. I am the host today, Pags, fresh off of an NFC Championship win. We've got Bo on location in Alabama. Yeah, doing
Yeah,
senior game, our senior bowl, and we got baseball is officially started because he gets that practice today or tomorrow or something like that.
Today. First practice of the
Anyways,
year today.
Dustin as stat guy. What's up, guys? As you can tell by my voice, I'm in a good mood.
You
absolutely,
didn't have fun
absolutely.
yesterday, did you?
Huh?
I said you didn't have fun yesterday, did you? It was a pretty boring game for you, wasn't it? I don't remember seeing much of that one.
I tell you, it was. Yep. There's a reason why 55 points has never been seen in an NFC Championship game, and I'm actually was very excited to watch every single one of those points. So I
Hell
was a
yeah.
little nervous for a second, though, right? I mean, it was like in the first quarter they go down, 4th and 3, 4th and 2, 4th and 5, and then they just realized, okay, nope, we're not going to push our luck with fourth down, and then they do the fake punt.
That was
You
a
know,
perfect pass too, by the way. That was a good throw by that punter.
it really was a good throw because
Yeah,
had it been a little bit shorter, it would have not that have been intercepted and ran back for a touchdown maybe. Um, but it was. I mean, I kind of went a little bit as I expected it to. I didn't expect 55 points.
No.
55
yeah,
points was a lot. I mean, it was a lot.
Especially against a
Um,
defense that typically has played pretty well where they don't usually give up more than 30, 35 points usually. They do on occasions, but like not like as Philadelphia made 55 points look easy on the defense, which is not easy to do.
right. And that was just like you could tell they were just starting to pile it on. It was like okay, at the half, that extra touchdown at the half, the
That's what
yep.
fumbles
killed them. I
that
think.
they were giving up, the fumbles that was the big deal. The fact that they had gone through the first two playoff games with zero turnovers. But I said last week that 7 turnovers into 2 games that we played against them, so that the turnover was going to be a possibility uh, to be able to that was just going to continue to occur, and it did. It did. It kept on going. Uh, they
Mhm.
were punching the ball out, and I think all told that it was 2 fumbles and the interception at the very end.
I think they
But
had three. I think they had three fumbles because Washington had 4 turnovers, I believe.
yeah, so they had 3 fumbles and then the 1 interception at the end. And they shut down Terry McLaurin.
Outside of the
That was
outside of his one touchdown that he had in the
not
second quarter.
well. Yeah, I mean, and he was on the other side, so that was off of somebody else. That was not
Yeah.
off of Quinion Mitchell. Quinion Mitchell had him most of the game. 36 attempts, like 36 routes. I think he was throwing the ball 4 times. He had 1 catch for 7 yards against Quinion Mitchell.
Yep.
So that guy's just elite. He's just locked down, locked down.
I
So
I do think teams are going to stop returning kicks against Philadelphia, though, because you had the Packers who returned a kick that ended up in a fumble resulting to a touchdown, and then you had Washington return a kick right before the half, fumbling resulting in a touchdown. So I think teams right now are going to be like, yeah, let's just take the knee.
it's
Yeah,
not a
that
bad
was
idea.
that was crazy.
Um, and again, it was like one of those things. The kickoffs were very chippy, very chippy.
Mhm.
Yeah,
There was a lot of extracurricular after the play had ended, uh, going back and forth with those guys. So I kind of felt interesting that the way that it was, but they just the ball security, ball security, ball security. They needed to secure that ball a little bit better, and they didn't. And we took advantage
mhm.
of it. I mean, literally, 2 forced fumbles, I think, from the Pro Bowl linebacker, the All Pro linebacker, bomb. You know what I mean? Like it was everything an Eagles fan could want for an NFC Championship game. And I tell you what, you can blame it on whatever. I blame the Rocky statue. You want to come into our town and put some stuff on Rocky, the next thing that's going to happen is that you are going to get a beatdown. And
Mhm.
it's continuing every time. Every time you get a beatdown. So, but it was a great game for me to watch. And you know what? I kind of there was some Washington fans in the stadium. You know, they did come out and
Mhm.
it wasn't as contentious. I mean, there you heard some people yelling back and forth, but nothing contentious. I felt Washington felt right away. They run down and they do a 7-minute drive. They only get 3 points out of it, and then they kick it off. And the next play, first off, the kickoff goes back to the 45-yard line,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and then the very next play is Saquon doing Saquon things. 3 touchdowns for the MVP to be. I know that they have already made this. They've collected the votes here, but
Yeah, that's already decided.
Yeah.
it's a shame. It's a shame because
Mhm.
he, if anything, he may win the MVP of the playoffs.
Yeah.
If they
Yeah.
win, even in a loss, actually, even in a loss, he may win the MVP of the playoffs. You know, it sounds funny,
Yeah.
but I mean, quite literally. I mean, he gets Super Bowl MVP, so I don't know that it's like whatever, but it was absolutely amazing. I mean, first off, the moment that he scores that touchdown, it goes electric. The
Oh yeah.
whole stadium is in an uproar, and just you could tell it was like deflating for Washington. It was just deflating,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get the fumble, touchdown again. You know, it's already 14-3, and it's in the first quarter.
Well, I think even just the whole first quarter itself was deflating for Washington because you look, they have an 18 play drive that took 8 minutes off the clock, and they get 3 points out of it. Philadelphia runs 5 plays, and it's 14-3. Because then 2 plays into the next drive, Washington had that first fumble by De'Ami Brown, which Philadelphia recovered. Like Washington has the ball for like 8.5 minutes out of 10 minutes, and they're down 14-3.
Right. And it was that's absolutely deflating. Once they scored the third touchdown, they had a meeting on the side. The coach had to bring him back. Like, listen, guys, you got to calm down. You guys got to calm down. It's brought the whole team in. You know, do a little. It's like, you know, we can quit now, or we can keep on fighting. We're here at the NFC Championship game. I got to imagine that's what he's saying. He's like, listen, you guys got to just relax, and we do what we do.
And
And
I
they
think he also
started to a little bit.
he probably also said no one expected us to be here. So like you're here, like you deserve to be here. Nobody thought we would be here. We're here. Like you've earned being here. Just calm down.
But and then I think we had our probably one of the worst drives where they tried to kick a 54-yard field goal and just didn't have it. He didn't have the leg. I wasn't really concerned about that because he did hit all his extra points.
Yeah.
So that's really what I cared about most. But it was exciting. It was exciting, and then to watch them do the trophy presentation and watch all the guys excited, but measured, very measured. They were not overexcited. They have more work to do, and that's what I was excited to see. That it's not over yet. This is not the goal. This is not the goal. We got more to do. So
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a very focused team. And I mean, you got to see a defense. I mean, that defense really did. I mean, they still won by 32 points, so it's obviously it is what it is. But Washington did have a very good offense.
Yeah.
They were able to do a lot of stuff. And I feel like that their quarterback didn't hurt them.
No, it was everybody else that hurt them. Like there was a lot of just mental mistakes. Lattimore getting into it with people. Like there were a lot of drive extending situations that didn't need to be that they caused.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Eagles had a hard time getting off the field initially,
Mhm.
and then you could tell that they started to try to have to do more. So I didn't really expect, like, it was just like Jaden Daniels did not super overextend himself,
No.
but like you could just tell that they were just trying to get themselves out of it, and they just couldn't.
Exactly.
No running game to think of at all.
Nope.
The running game was non-existent. It was it was just all around a tremendous game for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's a
And it is good to see that they weren't too high on the win. I agree with you there. Like that's huge.
right. They were excited. They won. They're going to the Super Bowl, but they acted like they have been there before.
Mhm.
That's what it was. That. Hey, listen, that we ain't done nothing yet. And realistically, we're going up against arguably the best team in modern history.
Sure.
You know,
And
like
that's all.
arguably, but it's like you could say that the Patriots had some of those great teams, but Patriots never had enough. I mean, they only had one opportunity to try to three-peat, and they didn't make it to the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So
And
this is
they
this is
never had a situation either where they have an opportunity to win 5 and 6 years. They won, I think, 4 and 10 years or something like that, but they had never had a situation where if the Chiefs three-peat, it's 5 titles in 6 years.
they had
Or
6
no,
No, that's
teams.
four.
4 and 6
Four.
years. 4 and 6 years. Patriots had like that one run where they had 4 Super Bowl championships in 10 years. So even at that, when the Patriots are at their best, the Chiefs are still at a situation where they're even better than those situations.
Yep.
And that's ultimately, I think, the matchup that I'm looking for the most in that Super Bowl is not necessarily the players itself, but I'm looking more forward to the Steve Spagnuolo versus Vic Fangio. What defensive coordinator is going to be able to make the adjustments the best to defend the strength of each team? Like the strength of Philadelphia is obviously Saquon Barkley in the running game. For the most part, that's been Kansas City's strength of stopping the run. They didn't do a really good job at times yesterday against Buffalo, but in those short yarded situations, they did a very good job of making life difficult for Buffalo. And then Kansas City likes to pass the ball more than run. That's the strength of Philadelphia typically is stopping the pass. So it's going to be kind of that defensive coordinator battle. I think that's going to ultimately determine who wins this game.
Well, I mean, like I said, defense wins championships. And,
Yep.
I kind of went into that. I said that this week. I said that, amongst anything else, that the Eagles have the number one defense and Washington is the 29th defense. And yesterday it showed. And,
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, even the weirdo call. Hey, listen, if you guys go offsides again, we are going to issue the touchdown. And that is a real rule. That is a real rule in the rule books. I got clarification on that today from Good Morning Football. That it's that they could have the fact that they were doing 5 times offsides, and just trying to do anything they can to stop it, and they just couldn't stop it. And then the one guy went offsides, and that's when the ref said they have been aware and they are now educated about the rule that if this happens again, they're
I mean, you can only move the ball so close to the goal line before the ball's touching. Like, yes, every time it's offside, it's half the distance, half the distance, half the distance. Eventually, the tip of that ball is going to touch the goal line, and when it touches the goal line, it's a touchdown. So you can't really move the ball any closer.
Well, that's exactly it. That was exactly it. That
Because even when the center puts his hand on the ball to snap it, if that ball's touching the goal line, it's a touchdown before the snap even happens. So it's like you can't really put it any closer.
and even on the play that they actually didn't go offsides, they were all offsides.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
all offsides. Every bit of like the entire play that they were like almost helmet to helmet, so they didn't even
Yeah.
give the space for the ball. So it was what it was. You know what I mean? And for anybody, there is one time where that rule was invoked. That is not just that is a football rule with the touchdown that the referee can let a touchdown happen. It happened in the Cotton Bowl in 1954. Somebody came off the
Interesting.
bench to make a tackle, So in college is when it happened, not in the pros,
Okay.
obviously.
Yeah.
Somebody came off the bench and made a tackle, an open field tackle against a Yale running back who had a clear shot. And he ran off, made the tackle, ran back on, the bench again, and they issued the touchdown for that. So that's the only time that a touchdown has been scored in both pro or college football that has not been officially earned.
I mean, I feel like that time Tomlin was walking into the field on the
Could have
sideline
been one.
probably should have
Could have been one.
Should have been.
Could have been one. Yeah, that's one of those things where that's now the moment that they said that and they showed that, I'm like, that could have been a touchdown given. Now
Yep.
that the rule is out there, I mean, it may be another 10 years before or 20 years before this even shows its head again. I mean, 1954 was one. Tomlin did that like 8 years ago?
No, you think it was
No,
that?
I think it's longer than that. No, I thought it was longer ago than that. Yeah, because Antonio Brown was still on the team, I think.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that's the only time that I can see that happening. And it was kind of funny that they were going to get like 15-yard penalties and stuff like that. And Lattimore lost it. He lost it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew that was going to happen though, because it's Lattimore, and he's one of those guys you can get in his head every time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was going nuts, and you could tell that they had just had that they had them beaten. That was the full rendition of Quicksand. Yeah, we always reference Quicksand from the Replacements. That was Quicksand for them. There was just nothing that they could seem to do right. The only thing they did right was be able to hold the ball for 8 minutes, or it was like 7 minutes and 6 seconds is really how long it was that first drive, and get 3 points. The fact that they didn't get a touchdown probably determined the game right there. Because had they scored a touchdown, might have been different all the way around. Everything could have happened the exact same way, but it would only been tie. We wouldn't have had the lead 7-3. So
yeah.
But yeah, 55.
Right.
That's such a beautiful number. So, and then there was another game.
There was.
I did not see the first half.
First half was better than the second half, but
you know what? I will mention that, Chris. The Eagles did break a record with 7 rushing touchdowns. 7 rushing touchdowns.
Was it 6 or was it 7? Because didn't Hurts have a passing touchdown? I thought Hurts had a passing touchdown.
That was the 8th.
Okay, because they said Hurts.
They missed an extra point. They went for 2.
Okay, because I thought they said Hurts and Barkley combined for 7 touchdowns. That's why I thought it was 3 and 3, and then the 1 passing touchdown.
Nope. So yeah, it was. Shipley also got one, his first touchdown ever. And then, like I said, we missed 1 extra point because of Lattimore's 15-yard penalty. They put it on the 1, and we tush-pushed in, got the touchdown. We tush-pushed again and didn't get the touchdown. So, since 55, or it would have been 56.
Right.
Yeah.
But back to Buffalo and Kansas City. Do you feel for Josh?
I mean, you have to. Like even with Lamar. I mean, with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen both. Like, I don't know if it's a mental thing at this point or what it is, but like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, for the most part, they can beat Patrick Mahomes in the regular season because both have proven to do it. But whenever the playoffs come, they just can't beat Kansas City. And like you look at yesterday, Josh Allen made a play on 4th down. His receiver dropped it, but it would have been short anyway, so they wouldn't have got the first down. But then the last drive of the game for Kansas City to clinch it, they're not going to run the ball on 3 straight plays. And then what does Andy Reid do? He does a bootleg to a guy who has not touched the ball the entire game, catches a little 2-yard pass, and he runs it 15 yards for the first down, and Samari Pete Ryan. It's just like Josh Allen sitting at the sideline. You can just see he's like, what can I physically do to beat this team? I don't turn the ball over. We don't turn the ball over. We forced more turnovers than they turned us over, and we still lose.
Yeah. And Patrick Mahomes did stuff that he hasn't done all season long.
Yeah, he ran for 2 touchdowns. He ran for 2 touchdowns for the first time in his career that he had more than 1 rushing touchdowns in a game.
Well, and Josh Allen didn't run as much as he normally does.
Yeah.
He didn't really need to, though. I mean, there wasn't really many opportunities for him to run the ball.
And when he did, like, a lot of them were those short yardage situations where you know he's going to get the ball. And Kansas City did a phenomenal job stopping a lot of those short yardage situations because they were talking about it throughout the broadcast. Steve Spagnuolo kind of scouted that play, and they basically said every time it's like a 4th and 1 or a 3rd and 1, Josh Allen gets the ball and goes over the left guard. And you could see every single time Kansas City loaded that side of the line where the left guard was, and they would hit him every single time. The only 2 conversions he had was to the right side where Kansas City was on the weak.
Joe, I agree with you on that one. I do agree with you. The one referee was definitely a half a yard ahead, and the other referee was behind. And you saw them both walking in. The referee who actually saw the ball started to move over towards the main referee, which was bad. I thought that was bad all the way around. And that was what the purpose was of the second camera.
Mm-hmm.
They have 2 cameras in the sky. One camera is supposed to be on the ball nonstop. They got to figure out a way to do this chip. They have to figure out a way to do the chip. Like it's like if the chip is somewhere in the ball and they can mark it down off of the chip, and they know how much distance is between the chip and the nose of the ball, then that's how they should be able to do it.
Or do what the UFL does. Where the UFL always has like on whenever the ball is close, I don't know how the UFL does it, but they always have like some sort of 3D image from where the pylon is, and it does a 3D picture, and it literally shows you where the ball was when the play was blown dead. So then the referee doesn't even have to do anything. You literally just have a little monitor that you check. It's like, oh, the ball's that close. Okay, that's where it goes. You don't have to check anything. You don't have to check with any officials. It literally just sends some sort of a relay to the tablet that the person has by the pylon. You check and see how close the ball was, and that's where you mark it. There's no argument you can make on it because it somehow relays exactly where that play was blown dead and where the ball was in proximity to the pylon.
Yeah, I think they already have the chip in their ball, is the thing.
Well, they do have the chip in the ball. And I know that because I made a Super Bowl ball 2 years ago, and I went up to the Wilson facility. So I got a tour of the entire facility and made a Super Bowl ball. And ultimately, the chip is right where the NFL logo is.
Yeah, which makes sense. It's in the middle. Yeah.
Right. It's in the middle, but they're only using that for the next gen stats. That's the only purpose of the chip. So they're able to link into the chip completely to show how much each ball is being used and stuff like that. And so, because there's always 10 balls that are used each game.
Mm-hmm.
So, had they started throwing footballs out into the stands after the 7th touchdown, they maybe been like, okay, we're down to 3 balls, guys. Let's not throw anymore. But literally, that is the reason why they don't, is because the chip is small and it's in the middle, and there's no way to determine, like, okay, it doesn't measure the end to end of the football. We're only talking about 4 inches, maybe 5 inches at most.
Mm-hmm.
A football is 14 inches in total, maybe.
Something
so
like
maybe
that,
6 inches on each side. You know what? It's again. All right, bye, Bo. So, but I think that that'll start to turn around too. I mean, I don't know that that's really a big deal. But that being said, it did affect the game. It did affect the game. He did get that for if he did get that first down, it might have been so much more different.
Right.
Welcome
Sorry,
back.
guys. I tried to decline a phone call and it closed everything.
The trials and tribulations of being on the road.
That's right.
But so I mean, obviously, it's a rematch of the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Mhm.
You don't see this very often,
Mm-mm.
where there's rematches.
Especially not this
Um,
close together.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think of any time that it was something like this.
Would
I
have
mean,
been.
obviously, the Eagles, are pretty good in rematches. Yeah, we're 1-1 in rematches,
Mhm.
or 1-0 in rematches in the Super
Oh,
Bowl.
I was gonna send you guys a picture before when we were because we were talking about the Josh Allen fourth down play. There is an overhead view that they did not show until I think after the game was over, and the overhead view actually shows him being short. And if you look at where the ball is in the overhead view, the ball is in his right hand. His left elbow and his left side of the body is what broke the plane, but his right hand did not get to the line of gain. So the overhead view, if they would have went to that, would have shown that he was short. And he would have been short by probably 2 inches because he was not able to extend that right hand because of where his left hand was in position. Because it did look
Okay.
like it did look like he had the first down because yes, part of his body crossed that line to gain, but it was the part of the body that was not in possession of the football.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
that's why that second official, which was on the near side of the field, was actually standing where the ball was versus that official that was on the top end of the field that was standing beyond the line. He was going based on where he saw Josh Allen's body, which was above the line, versus the guy on the near side was going based on where he saw the ball in Josh Allen's right hand.
So Jay Bo is in Alabama
Yeah.
for the Senior Bowl.
Yeah. Down here in Mobile.
So to talk to the guys that are going to be in the draft this upcoming year.
Yep.
Or at least hope. So
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy because, there's 120 draft eligible kids in this game, and each of the last 4 years, over 100 of them have been drafted. So um, there's a good chance if you're watching this game, a lot of these guys are going to end up in the league. So
yes, I kind of figure that, and there's a lot of scouts down there. I got to imagine and things like that.
yeah,
I mean, the teams usually are represented really well. The
Mm-hmm.
NFL teams are really well down there, talking to the kids, starting the initial conversations and such. It's usually a fun thing to do. Um, obviously, with no football this week or the Pro Bowl, um, the Pro Bowl hoopla. So I know people were asking if I was going to go to the Pro Bowl. No, there's no Philadelphia guys going to be here, so there's no need for me to do
true.
that. But it's it's going to be fun. I can imagine that you're going to have a good time down there. Do you have anything slated for what you're going to be doing?
Yeah, so later today is the first official press conference. So 3:30, I'll be in that press conference. They also have, excuse me, they also have kind of media row happening there as well. So get a chat with some of those people. The Lions and the Giants both have booths here, and so that'll be good. Obviously, um, Kafka is the head coach of the national team, so it makes sense the Giants will be here. But all the coaching in this game is our NFL coaches.
Gotcha. Of course, yeah, because they want to see how these kids will react to real situations. So
Exactly.
real NFL type style in situations, and then get get them into that mindset. Hey, listen, this is what's going to happen when you get to the pros. So you want to be able to do that. Yeah. So it's, oh, Mary's going to the Pro Bowl.
Nice.
You'll have a great time down there, Mary. I was at the Pro Bowl. I was at the Pro Bowl in, I guess it was 2020, before COVID really hit. That was and I got to announce to the crowd of people. Somebody texted me right away, and I got it before everybody else did. Everybody's waiting for the players to come out, and I announced that Kobe Bryant had passed away. And the guard there said, "That's not true." And I'm like, I'm being told he died in a helicopter accident. And everybody went to their phone, and it was an immediate hush that went onto the crowd. It was just like, it was a very surreal type of situation. I didn't mean to be the bearer of bad news. You know what I mean? But I got a text message, and I'm like, Kobe Bryant just died? It was like I read it out loud in my head, and literally the guard who I was right next to goes, "That's not true." I'm like, "Yeah, it looks like he might be, because it says he died in a helicopter accident." So, and unfortunately, it was true.
Yep.
So, and then, like I said,
yeah, that's one of those you hope it was misreported.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And,
one of those
the source
hopes
that I got it from was not something that I knew right away that this was a real story. Like, that was a real thing.
Sure.
This guy doesn't just text out of nowhere and say, yeah, it's raining gumdrops over here. Come get them. You know what I mean? It's not.
The meatballs.
Yeah. So it's like, when he said that to me, I was like, "Ooh, that's a real thing." And then we looked it up, and it was. Obviously, it was.
Yeah.
It was put out like 3 minutes ago, but it was odd that he texted me, because I don't normally get, I would never get my sports news from him. So.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah, it was a real tough day for everybody. But Fletcher Cox did get a fumble recovery touchdown in that Pro Bowl. So that's what I remember from that. So there's a late flag. You could say there's a late flag all you want. It ain't gonna matter. I think that the Eagles, so let's talk about that for a second. It comes out, Kansas City is a 2-point favorite.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to be the favorites because they're the defending champs. They're the 2-time defending champs. They've been there, done that. They've beaten Philadelphia in the Super Bowl before. That's literally why they're being favored. It's because this is nothing new for them at this point.
Yep.
And if you put Kansas City as the favorite, chances are a lot of people are going to put money on Philly, which could help the Vegas books.
So, I read one of my friends who's a Buccaneers fan, obviously. His name is Jamie, and I'm surprised he isn't on here trying to say that nobody's going to watch the Super Bowl. He's like, yeah. He's like, that nobody cares about the Super Bowl at all, and nobody's going to watch it. And I disagree wholeheartedly. I feel like everybody's going to watch it, because this is the continuation of 2 years ago, where it was arguably the best Super Bowl ever played. So what kind of game is this going to be? I think, well, yes, Joe, New England was favored in that game, but the Eagles were the underdog in every game. And they had all 3 home games. They were underdog against Atlanta. They were underdog against the Vikings, and then they were underdogs against New England, and we won.
That's only because Nick Foles was starting and not Carson Wentz. Otherwise, they would have been probably favored in every game besides the Super Bowl.
Correct.
True.
So,
and realistically, Minnesota had Case Keenum in that game, so I don't even know how Minnesota was favored in that game.
So, I saw that moment. Chris, he's talking about Fletcher Cox consoling Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz. I mean, it's going to come out within the next couple of days that he's retiring. That was his last game. Uh,
Sure.
you know, it's a shame that he did not get to the Super Bowl again. But it was good. It was awesome to see him retire in Philadelphia. Like, I know that he hasn't officially retired yet, but it was really awesome to see him play his last game, and he balled out. He
He
balled out.
did.
He was really the only receiver that was doing anything on that team. I mean, I know that Scary Terry did score a touchdown, but he was really the only one that was
Yeah,
was
108
doing
yards
stuff.
and 11 catches.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I mean, that was
That was
it was good to see
2007.
him.
That was 2017 version of Zach Ertz when you guys won the Super Bowl. Like that's the way Zach Ertz played back then.
Right.
Yeah.
And Zach Ertz was great at a lot of things when it came to being a tight end, except blocking. He was not a good blocking tight end. He wasn't even good at just doing the chips and such like that, but he was really good, and he definitely has his place here in Philadelphia. I mean, it's him and his wife actually have started the Zach the Ertz Foundation here, so they actually have a really a strong footprint in Philadelphia, and so and I we happen to share agents, so it's possible that we could be doing some work in the future. And real humble guy, very humble, quiet, very um, I got to imagine he's more vocal in a locker room and such, but more introverted when it comes to public setting and such. But him and his wife are both great people. So, and I wish him all the best moving forward. I don't want to say that he's retired just yet. He didn't say, hey, PSG, I'm
Exactly.
retiring. You can let everybody know. But you can only assume that with Fletcher Cox yesterday, like as he was, crying as he left the field. That's the telltale sign. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
when you have to say goodbye to the game that you've played and that you've loved for so long. It's
Mhm.
it really is a touching moment that he got to share with him and Fletcher Cox, obviously retiring last year. Went through that emotion last year, and is actually a really good source to be able to say, listen, it's going to be just fine. Everything's going to be just good. And trust me, you're going to love not having to waking up and not having to hurt, because
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
It hurts. And Bo, you know about it. And you hurt typically for a couple days afterwards.
Mhm.
It's the pain, and then once that pain is gone, when you retire and that pain is gone, it's gone. Comes back and nags on occasion, but it's gone. So,
Yeah. I was going to say it's around.
it never quite goes away, but it's
It's
Exactly.
around, especially like if you retire from a team. Like I'll use Washington for example. Like if he retires from Washington and then Washington would end up going to the Super Bowl next year. Like that would be like one of those pains that comes back where it's like maybe I should have stayed around one more year because we just ran it back with
Well,
pretty much everybody on that team.
I mean, you have to imagine Jason Kelsey has moments of that.
Fletcher Cox, same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think about that. There's a lot that's similar to that. We asked Jason specifically if he misses it, and he's like, "No, my knees thank me every day." So it's like
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he enjoys the life that he has now, anyways, doing all the pregame stuff he does now, doing like a lot of the.
I mean, he's definitely set his self up for success with everything that he's
Mhm.
done up to this point. But ultimately, he is like, he thinks about it some. You know what I mean? Truth of the matter is, he's just a bigger part of this team as the team is.
Mm-hmm.
He's not out there on
Yeah.
the field, but he's definitely a big part of this team.
Yep.
He's always there. He's always sharing his stories. He's always like helping the Jurgens, and I mean he was probably invaluable to Landon Dickerson this week. You know what I mean? Because when they found out, and I was wondering why they announced 6 offensive linemen when they did the offensive call. They called 12 people. They didn't call 11 people. They called 12 people when they announced the offense. And I was like, They called 6 offensive linemen. That's weird. I didn't know why. Because Jerky didn't start.
Mhm.
It's like he said he was in the starting lineup, but he did not start. Like
Yeah.
they in the called starting lineup. What kind of game do you think is it's starting today? Obviously, we got 2 weeks yet before this game really is
Mhm.
happening. What kind of game do you suspect will come from this?
I think it's gonna be a low scoring defensive game. Just because you have the top defense in Philadelphia, and I think Kansas City's like the number 4 defense. Like both these defenses have been elite, and for the most part, up until the final maybe 4 games of the season, Kansas City's defense is what was ultimately winning games for them. Now you're starting to see the offense start to put up points again. Like ironically, yesterday they scored 32 points. That was the first time all season Kansas City scored 30 points. 29 was the previous 29 was their previous high. Yesterday was the first time all year they scored 30 points or more. So they've been relying on that defense all year.
I think that's about where we're going to be, is kind of that game we saw yesterday, but might be light of both scores by like a field goal.
I think it'll be
that's kind of where I see that.
I think like a 23-20, 24-20 type of game. I think it's going to be more. I think in the second half you might see more scoring than the first half. I think the first half will be a lot of just physical football, figuring each other out a little bit, and then maybe be like a 6-6 game at the half, and then all of a sudden the second half is where the adjustments will be made, and you'll start to see the offenses pick up a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking like upper 20s.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think that, obviously they were able to score 29 points on that defense yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And a lot of those points were done under duress, obviously. So there were like that one touchdown, that guy was wide open. There was nobody around him for like 6 yards. I feel like that there are certain times that the Chiefs defense takes chances. And you just got to take advantage of those chances. I mean, Washington did it a couple of times. They came on that zero blitz on that 1 3rd down. And they called timeout, and then they came back in, and they did a zero blitz where it was like they sent 6 guys or 7 guys even. After and got him. It was like, there was just you couldn't count everybody in. So, and they wound up getting a sack on Hurts. But short of that, you can't do that every play, obviously. And I feel like that the Chiefs defense will sometimes get caught up a little bit in what they're doing.
They do.
But
then you do have cases like that, the 4th down incompletion at the end of the game where Josh Allen said they didn't run that blitz the entire game. And all of a sudden, Steve Spagnuolo dials up the most exotic blitz he can think of, basically with the game on the line, and Josh Allen's like, "Oh crap, what am I doing here?" and just throws it up for grabs.
And it was close.
It was a chance that they took where if the play works, that's the result you get. If the play doesn't work, there's a good chance that Buffalo gets a touchdown a couple plays later, or at the very worst, you're going into overtime, and then who knows what happens after that. Like that's that aggressiveness that Kansas City plays with. But Steve Spagnuolo is very good at disguising when he's going to use it and when he's going to send these exotic blitzes that teams don't see throughout the game.
Well,
yeah, his situational game calling is elite, to say the least.
Because that last drive Buffalo had, the whole drive, it was pretty much blitzing 2, maybe 3 guys. And all of a sudden now it's 3rd down, and you had 5 guys on the line. You dropped 3 of those guys back, and all of a sudden 5 guys, including 3 linebackers, blitz from the other side. So Allen's watching the defensive front back off, and all of a sudden the linebackers are coming forward. He's like, okay.
Yeah, obviously it's when it mattered. It's just like the Buffalo just cannot seem to get it done. Interesting. It's interesting to me how that kind of makes that that they've run into the same thing over and over and over again. That this is like the 4th time that the Bills have been knocked out by the Chiefs in the
Yep.
playoffs. It's just
Yeah.
that's unheard of. It's unheard of.
And
But
that's what they said. That's what Tony Romo
things
said
happen at
yesterday,
fours in
too.
Buffalo.
And that's what Romo said
So
yesterday too. Like, this was the year that if Buffalo is going to beat Kansas City, this was the year that you would think they were going to do it. And Tony Romo made the case last night. If Kansas City comes back healthy with Rashee Rice coming back from a torn ACL, Hollywood Brown only played 2 games because of his shoulder injury. If he's good to go at the start of the regular season, if you bring Hopkins back and you have Pacheco healthy, when is Kansas City going to lose in the playoffs, at least on the AFC side? Like, if you couldn't beat them this year when they arguably had their worst overall offensive season, what are you going to do if they get back on track offensively consistently? Like, who's going to actually be able to go there and beat them on a consistent basis if they have home field? Like, if they don't have home field, they have a better shot of knocking them off. But if they get home field throughout the playoffs, who realistically can go in there and beat them?
I hear you. But in the regular season, anything can happen. It's the playoffs that really matter. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what I do like about this is that, I mean, arguably, these are the 2 best teams in football. You know, I mean, obviously, the Chiefs went 15-2. You know, the Birds went 14-3.
Theoretically 15-1, and then they sat everybody week 17 to lose on purpose.
Yeah, I understand. But there's been 5 losses between these 2 teams. That is a great Super Bowl. I mean, you could say that Detroit, for whatever reason, you know, I felt, like I said, I mentioned this yesterday. I thought that had Buffalo made it, had Buffalo won this game, that the high might have been too high for them there. And that there would have been a letdown for the Super Bowl. Not that they would have just stunk up the place, but I think that it would have, you know, that it took so much emotion and stuff to get past Kansas City that just being in the Super Bowl would have been prize enough. Obviously, these guys are professional and they want to win the chip. So, but I thought that it would have been maybe an easier game for the Eagles to possibly win.
I think the biggest disadvantage right now for any AFC team, the way these teams think in the playoffs, your Super Bowl is taking down the Kansas City Chiefs. Yep. And once you do that, you're going to be on such an emotional high from beating them in the AFC Championship game that in the Super Bowl, you're going to just get hit in the mouth right away and you might not be able to recover. Versus the NFC teams, the NFC, in my opinion, is so much more wide open on a yearly basis because you don't have like that dominating force that is continuously getting to where the Chiefs have gotten, where every game is like the next game, the next game, the next game. And then you look at the AFC, it's like, oh, it's Kansas City. Everybody's shooting for Kansas City in like AFC Championship game. That was Buffalo's Super Bowl yesterday to knock them off. They couldn't do it. And had they found a way to do it, I think Buffalo loses by 14 to 17 points in the Super Bowl because of that emotional high to finally get over the hump.
No, and I mean, you watch that across sports all the time. If there's a big emotional win, it's very hard to keep that same energy the following week.
So, but I think it's going to be a good Super Bowl. I think it's going to be very similar to the last Super Bowl that these 2 teams played. I think that there's going to be a different result. I really feel that this is the one game where Saquon Barkley is going to make the biggest difference. I think
it's his birthday, so if he's going to make a big difference, it's going to be his birthday.
I think this is ready for him in so many ways. In so many ways, he is like ready for this moment. I mean, he'd have never gotten here with the Giants, you know, and and you think about this as I think about this where, you know, McCaffrey doing the same thing with the 49ers. And he went to the NFC Championship game and lost because his quarterback, you know, got hurt and stuff like that. And then when he went to the Super Bowl, he was so banged up he couldn't really make that decision. But now it's Barkley is healthy, he is strong, he is ready to go. And like I said, they were tempered. They were not overjoyed I think they were
Mhm.
excited. They were happy. They're going to the Super
Yeah, of
Bowl,
course.
as you should be happy. But they are so much more now
Mhm.
focused. They want to finish the job. As if in WWE, Dusty Rhodes or Rusty Rhodes, whatever the frig his name is, he
Dusty Rhodes.
finishes the story. Yeah, that's what he is. The American Nightmare. The Eagles want to finish the story, and I'm going to imagine that most of America is probably, well, I got to say 50-50 because Swifties make up the other half, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I think as much as people don't want to admit it, I think the cheering is going to be a lot closer than what some are going to lead it off to be. I think more people want Philly to win, obviously, because it's the Kansas City Chiefs fatigue right now, where it's just like you're getting sick of Kansas City being there. But at the same time, you're also going to have that large chunk of the population that wants to see history. They want to see somebody win 3 Super Bowls in a row because it's never been done before. And once
Sure.
it happens, then you're going to be looking at, will this ever be done again? Will there ever be a team that can get to 3 straight Super Bowls, let alone win 3 straight Super Bowls again? So now you're kind of putting yourself in the terms of not only one of the greatest teams ever, but one of the greatest dynasties ever in the NFL because you're doing something that nobody else has done.
Yeah.
I get it, but here's my this is my tinfoil hat coming on. That I feel like that puts certain people above the NFL. The one thing I was kind of excited about yesterday, that I know that people say that one call with what's his face, Josh Allen not making that was a bad call. But truth of the matter is, like you already said, that it wasn't a bad call. The refs didn't get involved.
No.
The refs stayed out of it.
Because
and the refs stayed out of it.
That was one of those situations where, regardless if you call it a first down or if you mark it short, whoever's going to review that play, you're not overturning it because there's going to be not enough evidence on the review to overturn it. So whatever call they called, I think that's why they didn't get involved, because they're like, we're going to have to stick with this call anyways, so we're just going to let it play out.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm talking about just in general, the
Yeah.
entire game. The refs did not get involved. They kind of let them play. There wasn't any. I didn't see any egregious calls or any calls that kind of made the difference or whatever. I just was like, okay, this is what it is right now. This is how this is going to be. I hope they do the exact same thing with the Super Bowl. I feel like that these are going to be really two really good teams, and that they are going to do certain things that are going to make it a really good game. And I don't want anybody crying for the flag. There were a couple of times the Eagles cried for the flag yesterday. One time AJ Brown cried, and he probably could have got it, but the way that the ref he didn't see it right. There was another time that somebody, like, he didn't even cry about it. They just threw the flag. They literally just held 100% held Devonta Smith, and he still almost came down with it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So I really hope that the referees stay out of this completely. That this is what we need and what we want, and end of story. That's how let's do it that way. So but we got 2 more weeks to talk about this. This is just the beginning.
And to answer Scott's comment down there on if Saquon were to win the MVP, right? I'm assuming you mean the Super Bowl MVP, because you can't mean regular season. I mean, the voting for that is done. It's a regular season award, so that one's already wrapped up. But if you're talking about the MVP for the Super Bowl, I mean, if he tears off games like he's had, there's a good chance.
Mm-hmm.
If he scores 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, it's not going to matter if Jalen Hurts has 3 tush pushes too.
If he
No,
scores
exactly.
if he
Exactly.
runs for like 200 yards and has 3 touchdowns and Philadelphia loses, Saquon's still probably getting the MVP.
No,
You don't think he would? Like if Philadelphia would lose like 24-21 and he
Not a
had
chance.
all their touchdowns, you don't think he would get it?
Nope.
no, because of the other team that they're playing. Like if you were playing a no-name squad, maybe, but you're playing the Chiefs. They've been there before. Like someone on that team would get the MVP if they win.
Patrick
Yeah,
Mahomes. That's who would wind up getting it. And I think that's part of the game plan. I got to imagine that's part of your defense. You have to make sure that Patrick Mahomes does not beat you. You know, like
Yep.
the receivers are going to get theirs. He's going to get some receiving yards. The running game has been, they've had some teams have had success at the run, but this game specifically is going to be won in the trenches.
Yeah. And the thing that I actually like about the Chiefs this year that not a lot of people talk about is you look at the ones that have actually been contributing the second half of the season. It's players that were on previous Super Bowl teams. Like it's not Travis Kelce, it's not Rashee Rice because obviously Rice was hurt, but it's Kareem Hunt, who was part of the Kansas City Chiefs' first Super Bowl run when he was their number 1 running back. Now he comes back after missing the first half of the season because he was a free agent. He's looking like he did the first time they won the Super Bowl. You had Juju Smith-Schuster yesterday coming up with massive catches. He was part of their Super Bowl runs of the past and wasn't with them at the start of the season. It's like all these players that have played a role in this dynasty that they're putting together are just now making plays like you would expect veteran teams to make.
And there you have it. And that brings us to the end for today.
Stat of the day.
Oh, we got a stat of the day.
Oh,
Let's go.
okay.
And I sent it to you guys in the chat the other day. But every team in the American League has at least one player on their roster with the letters ASTROS in their name, besides the Houston Astros.
Okay.
That's just a freaking ridiculous. That's a LeBron stat.
Right, like that.
And I think they said I think Philadelphia and Houston might be the only two that don't have that situation. But every team in the American League has at least one player. It doesn't have to be in that order, but they have at least one player with those letters in their name besides the Houston Astros.
You know, I think if you put together the players right next to each other and like stack their names up, I bet you could probably write Dallas sucks with every team.
Pretty much.
That being said, we're going to call it a day on that stat. So everybody have a great day, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.